Hi all, welcome to the Best of CAT series by IMS. I am Parmeshwar Sharma here, and today we are going to look at a question on arithmetic. So kindly pause the video, give it a try and then resume the video. So in this particular sum, the question goes like this. In 2010, a library contained a total of 11,500 books in two categories, fiction and non-fiction. In 2015, the library contained a total of 12,760 books in the two categories mentioned. In this period, we have seen that there was a 10% increase in the fiction book and a 12% increase in the section of the non-fiction book. How many fiction books were in the library in 2015? So one need to be slightly careful here because the 2 year which we are mentioning is 2010 and 2015. So first of all, let me assume if I use the first sentence over here, if I assume that suppose we have X number of fiction book and Y number of non-fiction book in the year 2010, so my first equation method will be X plus Y must be equals to 11500. Now, if I suppose look at 2015, we are seeing the increase in the fiction book by 10% and its non-fiction by 12%. Now there can be two ways. One can frame the next equation as this: 110% of fiction book plus let's say 112% of non-fiction book, and this must be equal to the number 12760. And the other kind of people can possibly only look at the increase. So if I look at the increase part, it goes up from 11500 to a number 12,760. It simply means we are observing an increase of 1260 in total number of books. So what that 1260 must be equal to? It must be nothing but the increase in 10% of the fiction book and 12% of the non-fiction book. So it must be equal to nothing but the sum of 0.1x plus 0.12y. So 10% means 0.1 and 12% means a 0.12y. Now since we are supposed to find out the fiction book, let me try to eliminate the value of y. So what I can do is, suppose if I look at my first equation and suppose if I multiply by 0.12, what I will get is 0.12x plus 0.12y, and this thing will be equals to 10% will mean nothing but 1150 plus the number 230 and 1 get the number 1380. So now if I want to subtract or eliminate the value of y, I must subtract the two equations. So what will I get here is 0.02x correspond to the number 120. Now 0.02 means 2 by 100 or 1 by 50. So x basically must be equal to 50 times of 120, giving us the number 6000. Now kindly be careful. What is x? We have assumed x to be the value of the fiction book in the year 2010, but the objective is to find the number of fiction book in the year 2015. So this is fiction in 2010, and in 2015 it must be a 10% increase, so it will go up by the number 600, and the required answer should be 6600. So the answer must be option number 1. Please be careful, don't mark option number 3 as your answer here. Let's see another approach to solve this particular question without taking any variable x and y in this particular case. So suppose if I ask you, if all the 11500 books are fiction book, then what should have been the increase? So if all the books were fiction, in that case the increase should have been 10% of the number 11,500, and that turns out to be 1150. If all the book happen to be non-fiction, which will mean that the increase should have been 12% of 11,500. Now 10% means 1150 to us, 2% will mean 230. So if you add 1150 and the number 230, one gets the number 1380. So the increase could have been 1150 or a 1380, but in reality if you look at the increase, it happens to be 12760 minus 11500, giving us the number 1260, which is between the number 1150 and the number 1380. So if I use the method of alligation over here, this will give you a 110, this will give you a 120. What does that mean? My ratio of the fiction and non-fiction book should be in the ratio of 12:11. What does this mean? It simply means if you add the number 12 and 11, I get 23. So for every 23 books which are there in the library in 2010, 12 of them are fiction and 11 of them are non-fiction. So my number of fiction book in 2010, so fiction in 2010 must be 12 part out of 23 into 11500, and this corresponds to the number 6000. But again remember, the objective is to find out the number of fiction book in 2015, so it must be a 10% increase, or one can say 600 here, leading us to the number 6600. So my answer must be option number 1 here. So kindly type the replica of this question and kindly put the answer in the comment section.